All right, we are into our episode 4 review. It is just the three of us again. Ricky is having some real life stuff going on, and he was not able to make it. So you're going to have to deal with more of us three besides Ricky. And we're going to be doing our episode 4 review. Episode 4, I think, was a very strong episode. I do want to just give it over to Becky and JC on your general thoughts. I'll go to you, Becky, first, since you got a lot of members. You might want to thank them before we get going and all of that.
Yeah, so best. Thank you so much for the support, guys. Really, really appreciate it. Episode 4, I don't even know, like, I don't have words for how I felt like at the end of it. I was just in awe. I definitely think that this was the best episode of the season so far, in my opinion. Like, I think they topped it. And that ending was pure perfection with the music. And yeah, it just got me really emotional. It was great.
I agree with you, Becky. Moving to you, JC, what were your thoughts on episode 4?
Yeah, I thought this was easily the strongest episode of the season. I very much liked it. The humor, which has been pretty hit and miss, was for the most part throughout this episode not there, which I appreciated. It's like, oh, like a more atmospheric, more ambiance, more uh surreal episode, very contemplative. I really liked all the stuff with the character of Dunk. All in all, a very strong episode and a very strong ending, with the exception of one thing, to a strong episode.
Agreed. I would say like 95% of this episode I thought was fantastic. I liked the change of pace, even in terms of just simple things. The weather is very dreary. It's rainy. You can kind of tell we've gotten to now the show where we're in the meat of the story. It's a lot of the complaints, I think, of the first 2 episodes where we haven't gotten into that. And I thought they handled a lot of the bigger moments. A lot of the character moments were really well done. I mean, even just everything up to just when we get the title screen for A Night of the Seven Kingdoms with Baylor and Egg and Dunk was fantastic. I think by far this was the best episode. I did have some minor complaints, which we might talk about in the live stream. Is they're usually revolving around comedic moments that I think feel almost the exact same criticism I had for certain things in episode 1 specifically, kind of episode 2 as well. But overall, I thought fantastic episode. I'd say I made sure to put it in the title because I saw this debate on my live stream last night. Maybe the best episode since Game of Thrones. Maybe not. We might be able to talk about that at some point during the live stream. Let us know it down in the comments. So moving back to you, JC, I wanted to ask you, what were your thoughts on some of the big moments of the episode? You know, the very end with Baylor being revealed as Dunk's champion, some of the stuff that we as book readers know, but how did you like seeing them adapted to screen?
Yeah, all the big bullet points that I was anticipating in this episode, the trial by 7, for the most part. I mean, I could nitpick a few things here and there, but the trial by 7, the announcement there was going to be a trial by 7, Raymond Fossaway at first being like, "Oh yeah, sure, Dunk, I'll join you," and then at the end being like, "Haha, psych, I'm actually a douchebag. Bye, Dunk." And then the final moment where Dunk finally has that big line where like, "Are there no true knights among you?" I thought that pretty much like hit the nail on the head with what I wanted. It was very, very impactful, very, very well done. And also just the music underscoring the entire episode. Very somber, very surreal, very atmospheric. A very strong episode to this season a very strong episode, my favorite so far for this season.
Sounds good. I know, Becky, this is your favorite. So I know you were very much looking forward to especially some of the moments of this episode. What did you think about some of the bigger moments? Any moments that stood out to you that you want to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. So my like I was waiting for that line, Dunk's signature line. Are there no true knights among you? Like I was waiting for that since I saw it in the trailer. And I think as well, like we said earlier, it's about like the whole ambience of this episode. Like the tone has been shifted. It was like everything was rainy, everything was grey and ominous compared to like the light-hearted, bright colors that we've seen in the previous episodes. So I honestly thought that they pulled off the big scenes really well, other than like a slight little incident prior to Dunk's really big serious line, which I'm sure we'll talk about in this. But yeah, I just thought that other than that, they pulled off the big moments very well. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
But yeah, I agree with both of you. I think they handled a lot of things really well in this episode. And of course, we're going to spotlight the big ones, the big reveals. I really thought that they handled the smaller stuff, which is considered the setup of the episode, really well. Like Steely Pate's conversation with Dunk, I thought was one of the more impactful scenes. Just building into, it was a nice follow-up of their first scene. I love those two actors together. They have good chemistry. They perform really well. I really think the young actor, I believe his first name is Dexter, who plays Egg, did a fantastic job in a lot of scenes. So there was a lot I really liked in this episode in terms of even the smaller moments, not even just the bigger stuff. But yeah, I think that leads me to my first real talking point that I had when I was watching the episode. What do you guys think about Makar? Now that we've seen another episode of him, we didn't see him in episode 3. We talked about it in episode 2. Some of us were like not so much liking him. Some of us were more in the middle. So Becky, I'll go to you. What did you think of what we got from Makar further in episode 4?
So my opinion still stands. I definitely preferred him in the book. It's not to say I don't like him in the TV show. He's just very different. He's just not how I expected. They've definitely given him more of like more bitterness than he is perceived as being in the book. But I think my main gripe with him in this episode was him not knowing what a trial of 7 is, because I just don't know how you wouldn't know that in his authoritative position that he's in, unless he's just being like blissfully ignorant and he just genuinely doesn't know what it is. Like, I know it's not been used in a very, very long time, but I just don't know how he wouldn't have a clue. And also it's kind of self-explanatory in the name of Trial of 7 that you'd kind of put 2 and 2 together and get 7. Like, you'd work out what it is. Like, I don't know.
Yep.
That just didn't sit right with me.
Yeah, I agree with you, Becky. I'll explain it a little bit more in my own thoughts, but JC, you want to get your thoughts on Makar on this episode, maybe what your opinions are, if they've changed at all from episode 2?
As far as Makar is concerned, no, it has not changed. I'm hoping the last 2 episodes, episodes 5 and 6, kind of give us a better perspective into the Makar that we know from the novella. As far as this episode goes, yeah, it seemed very strange to me that Makar did not know what a trial by 7 was. And Arion was the one who was like, oh, yes, it's this Andal tradition from 6,000 years ago. You would think it would be the other way around, that Arion would be, the idiot who's like, well, it's a trial by 7, guys. And Makar would be the one who would be filling in the blanks for him. So, yeah, I did not like that moment for Makar. Throughout this entire episode, or this entire season, the character of Makar has been kind of a mix for me. But as far as just Makar is concerned, that was a little bit disappointing. But I still am looking forward to the trial by 7. And I'm still looking forward to seeing, hopefully, what else is done with Makar's character in the coming episodes.
Yeah, I think we'll have a more fully built picture by the end of the season, because we have one bigger thing with Makar left. And I'll start with the good. I did like that they did some changes in terms of, I like that he was a lot more condemning of Arion, going, a trial by 7, why don't you just take him on one-on-one? You're a Targaryen prince. This is a guy that's a hedge knight. Like, you should be able to beat him if you're a Targaryen prince. You have all the advantages in terms of, you've been better trained, you have richer armor, all that stuff. So I like that aspect of it. And I feel very mixed on Makar because, like you guys mentioned, how does he not know what a trial of 7 is? I mean, he's a Targaryen. These people are highly educated, whether they take that or whether they don't. Maegor the Cruel, literally his reign starts with the trial of 7. How would you not know at least what the idea of it is? You don't even got to know specifics. So I found that to be weird. In terms of Arion knowing what it is, it kind of makes sense given his future. He seems to be like somebody that likes Maegor history a little bit. So yeah, that makes sense for him to know it based on the future of his character and stuff. But yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that either, because I thought from the trailer, the best I could understand it was they're making a joke, but it's also supposed to be to introduce to the general audience, what is a trial of 7? But then they undercut that, because then Dunk asked the exact same question, not 2 lines later. He goes, so what is this trial of 7? Like, what does that mean? I've got to fight 7 people? So it kind of undercuts what was the purpose of Makar saying that at all. So I think it's give and take with Makar, in my opinion. There's good things I like. There's not so good things I like about the character, and I'll just have to see by the end. And I think I'm very close to Becky. I just think the way I read the book, this is not really the character, which doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. But given he is my favorite character, it's a little disappointing. So yeah, that's my general thoughts there. Anything you guys want to add before we move on from Makar?
I did like you brought up a good moment there where Makar, even despite still not knowing what a trial by 7 was, he did kind of punish his son Arion. You know, you kind of see a slightly off screen where he like kind of hits Arion, which I'm totally not for corporal punishment. But if corporal punishment were to be incorporated in this TV show, I can't think of anyone who deserves it more than Arion Brightflame, as Makar beats some sense into that jerkhole douchebag. So I think that was a great moment for Makar, where it kind of shows that nuance that Makar is not this complete villain that maybe Dunk or the audience perceives him as, because he's still he's just being a good father by being like, all right, well, I'm going to punish you, Arion Brightflame, but at the same time I have to stand next to you in this trial by 7 in order to I guess cleanse your honor, so to speak. So there are still moments where it's like, all right, there's semblances of the Makar we know of from the novella, but for the most part, up to this point through the first 4 episodes, hasn't quite hit the mark necessarily.
Agreed. And Becky, anything you want to add?
No, I agree with that. And actually, like in the first few episodes, he kind of just came across as bitter, and he definitely still does in this one. But there was more depth to him, like when he's like disciplining his child a little bit more, kind of chastising him for his actions and decisions. That it gives like more layers to his character. So I did like that in regards to Makar. But yeah, he's just different to how I pictured him. But oh well, it's not a big issue.
Agreed, Becky. I also didn't mention this, but they also gave Makar's line about what if Dunk can't find people to fight with to Arion. So I thought that was a little interesting as well. They gave Makar's line away, but whatever. Besides the point, I did want to answer this question. Wasn't the last trial of 7 in Magor's time? That's quite a while ago. It might seem like that, but when you're like, this is your family. It's not like you're studying somebody else's family. This is like 150-ish years ago. That wasn't that long when you consider we still talk about Aegon the Conqueror and all that stuff. Because you're going to be thinking, if you're being taught about history, it's going to be very Targaryen based. You're going to know the basic notes of, like, say, Fire and Blood. That's going to be your teaching if you're a Targaryen prince. So you should have obviously kind of known at some point what it is. But besides the point, I think that they weren't thinking of it like that. I think they were thinking of more of a joke and or introducing it to the general audience. But yeah, so that I think kind of leads to we're gonna hit a couple of like things I've seen criticized, things that I personally was like, I don't know about this, but I do want to reinforce, because this section might be a little bit more negative. We all still really liked the episode, so I don't want you guys to come away that we hate the episode, we're talking bad about it. It's just sometimes easier to talk about things that are a little bit more controversial than just saying we love everything, let's end the stream. But yeah. So the next thing I wanted to bring up with you guys is we hear a little bit more about Egg's background. This is something straight from the novella, his dynamic with Arion. I wasn't sure if they were going to do it because it is kind of dark. And then they do a moment where Raymond Fossaway just like laughs at the end of Egg talking about his trauma. I don't know if you guys walked away with this feeling kind of just like, what was that? Why was that there? But I'll let you guys talk about it. Any thoughts you guys want to talk about with that whole sequence? JC or Becky, whichever.
I think it was poorly timed, because you have, especially for Egg, like with his young age, and he's like confessing something traumatic that he went through. It's obviously creates a lot. It takes a lot of strength to do that. But I think for him to then receive laughter as the response, not great, but at the same time, I'm thinking about the turn of the show and how it is like very comedic. So I think they're trying to make a serious moment a bit more lighthearted, because this isn't a very overly serious show. Same with like later on Dunk's speech. It's a very deep, serious speech. And then they added some comedy, or what they thought was comedy, in there. So I think what I'm learning from this show is that the serious parts are not 100% serious, because they're going to add in something to lighten the tone. So I think that's why they did it. But from like a moral standpoint, you shouldn't laugh when anybody, not just a small child, but when anybody is saying that. But that's just Raymond Fossaway all over. He's just a cheerful, laughy guy.
Yeah, I agree. JC, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, so earlier, Marius, yes, you did catch that. I got them mixed up. Raymond is the good guy and Stefan is the douchebag, jerkhole, bad guy. So in this scenario, I'm a little neutral. I do think it could have been removed, but for me, it's like one of those things where it's like I'm probably nitpicking at this point. It's like, like I don't like its inclusion, and if it did need to be included, I think it would have made more sense if it was Stefan who did the laugh as opposed to Raymond doing the little snicker after Egg just reveals about this traumatic incident that happened during his childhood with Arian trying to, make him into they're incestuous aliens, Duncan. Yes,
That's
so
why I
I'm
laughed.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it follows up on Raymond's line in the previous episode where he called the Targaryens incestuous aliens, but at the same time, it's like I don't know. I feel like it could be removed, but at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm also trying to understand where the showrunners are coming from. Where it's like, oh, well, it's still a comedy show, and this episode has been, for the most part, pretty serious, which I actually appreciate. I actually like the serious stuff. That it was serious for once. So the little laugh, it's like I can see it either way. Personally, I would have removed it, but it's not the end of the world for me.
I totally get that. I'm a little bit more critical of it. I just don't understand. I get the point of it. Okay, we're making a comedic show and we're leaning into that. But at the same time, it's like, why does it feel like every time Egg has a moment, like they've done this twice now. I mentioned this on stream. They did this in episode 2 as well, when Egg has a vulnerable moment talking about his insecurities, and then we get Dunk all of a sudden, his mind goes blank and he can't respond to about Egg, and then we just, boom, we're into the tug of war, nobody cares. It kind of feels like the same thing here. It's like, okay, Egg just brought up something very traumatic, and then all it's like Raymond laughs, and then we just move on. All right, Daron and Dunk, go have your conversation. Just didn't like. It just feels like it's like, what was the point of bringing this up then? Because we're not reflecting on it. It's just something where it's like, oh, this is from the book, so here you go, guys. Like I don't know. This is the kind of the stuff that to me holds the show back from coming on here and just be like, the show is perfect. I love everything about it. It's these little moments where it leaves me questioning, why was this put in here? You can have funny moments and not ruin very serious conversations. Like, episode 3 did this pretty well, so I know they can do it. I don't know. It was something I was not a fan of, but I think that leads into the last little funnies that I think you guys will probably want to talk about a little bit more. But we get Dunk's powerful speech. It's really well done. A lot of tension, a lot of motion, and then we get a little fart happening between there. So I'll let you, Becky, talk about your thoughts on maybe Fartgate, I guess.
So Fartgate, where do we start? So I can see why they did it, and I think people will find it funny. Like, maybe it's not really my humor, but I think generally speaking, people would find it funny. My thing is that because I love the book so much, like, my viewpoint has unfortunately been biased the whole time because I have such high hopes for it. And this was part of the book that I read it and it gives me chills. So I was waiting for the line, and I was like on the edge of my chair, and I was like, I am waiting for him to say this line. And then I think it's coming, and then all I hear instead is a fart. And it just, reality hits, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not immersed anymore. Like, I wanted the scene to be like perfect. Like, I imagined it in my head when I read the book, and I didn't imagine a fart. So it just took me out of it, But I think if I can get over that, then, funny, haha. And he still delivered his brilliant line. So it's fine.
I don't know why that got me. You just say, I didn't imagine a fart when I was reading.
Just get really passionate.
JC, anything you want to add to Fartgate?
Yeah. Fartgate, the MCU-ification of the Song of Ice and Fire series. So, okay, I did not think... So this was moment months ago when some people saw the screeners. This was spoiled for me. This is the thing that I mentioned in the last episode where this big thing was spoiled for me. However, the person that spoiled this for me got it wrong, and I'm kind of grateful that they got it wrong. So my understanding originally, before I watched this episode, was that Dunk was going to have this big speech, and then at the end he's going to say, "Are there no true knights among you?" And then someone was going to fart, completely deflating his big line. But what happened was Dunk asked if anyone will stand with us, and then someone stands up and farts. But the context of it was that the lords, the high lords and ladies who are currently at this tourney, they're like, oh, it's like a representation that they don't really believe in Dunk. So the flatulence is part. It's not so much inserted just for the sake of toilet humor, but it's inserted because it signifies that the high lords don't believe in Dunk and they refuse to stand with him. And then after that, Dunk gets pissed off, and then he's like, "Are there no true knights among you?" So the line is still powerful. So compared to what I thought it was going to be, this actually did not come across as awfully as I thought it was going to. At the same time, it's like, well, uh, Greece, I know you and I had a private discussion earlier this morning where we talked. You had mentioned how you would have preferred if instead of a fart, maybe there was just silence from the crowd or maybe murmurs, and then Dunk goes into his line about, "Are there no true knights among you?" And I think that personally would have worked better because I do. I, I just like poop humor, fart humor. For me, it's like the lowest form of comedy. It's like that requires no thought whatsoever, and it's so dumb. But I mean, if they had to include it, this fart, then it's fine. In my opinion, it's like, all right, well, whatever. I guess it signifies the high lords and ladies not believing in Dunk, so it's fine. But personally, I would have preferred to not be there, but it's not the end of the world.
I
Yeah.
agree with that
Yeah.
completely.
Go ahead,
Actually, just a point, like you said, JC, around it just being like met with silence. I think that would have gone down much better if it was just like really awkward. Like if he'd given his speech and it was just like silence, like really awkward tension, and then he says his really powerful line. I think that would have gone down a lot better. But that's obviously not the route that they took.
Yeah, it's almost like we have a novella that kind of paves the road how to do that scene. But that's besides the point. That was a little bit too far of a dig. Yeah, basically what JC said. I just think I get the point of it. It's the same idea with the fortune teller. I like the idea behind it, but I don't like the execution. I don't like, okay, the way we're going to signify that the high lords, ladies, knights, they don't care about Dunk, they don't care about his cause, they're not going to risk their life for him, is do this whole thing where we have someone stand up. I believe it's Otho Bracken stands up, and we have the good happy music playing. Somebody's going to stand up for Dunk, and then it's just fart, and it's just like, could we not have just gone and kept the same tension here? You don't have to switch it to, regardless of how you interpret the scene, it is still a fart scene. It is still a fart joke, regardless of the way it's supposed to represent it. That is still what it's implying. So you're undercutting the tension that's building. So instead of that, like what I told JC is they should have just done something where it's either complete silence, or maybe like how it is in the book where Dunk is like calling people out and he's going, will you fight for me? And there's all these different people denying him, not taking him seriously, just scoffing him off, not giving him the light of day. That would have played off better because it would have kept the same tension. It would have kept building it up instead of just, let's throw in a little fart joke here right before the biggest line probably of the entire series. Do you guys agree with that for the most part?
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. So I think for me, that was the only criticism I had for pretty much anything dealing with the show, was just a lot of these comedic moments. Let me read this. Thank you, Zaz, for the super chat. I like the episode besides the fart and Makar not knowing about the trial of 7. I like how many Aegons there have been. I hope we see them all. We might. That's all I'll say on that. But yeah, I think Zaz, that pretty much is exactly our thoughts so far through the live stream. Before we kind of switch to, I think, more of the positive stuff, is there any other negatives or things you guys wanted to talk about that you weren't sure on from this episode before we move on?
I don't really have any. I don't have many negatives about this episode. Like we've talked about like the negatives to start off the stream, but I think we all agreed this was a very strong episode. Yes. So other than those two things, I don't really. Well, there's a few things. I don't really think there's much else to say negatively about it.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with Becky. I don't really have much to add in terms of negative stuff. I mean, there's some stuff I'm neutral on. For example, in the novella, we actually see Egg and Dunk finding the 5 other people that will participate in the trial by 7. They cut that out for the purposes of the show, but I don't mind that. I mean, I know they had to do it for time, and we still get the same results. Dunk arrives and it's like, oh, did Sir Stefan call you guys here? It's like, no, Aegon did. And it's like, oh, okay. So, it's that's not a negative or a positive. It's just like, oh, okay, that's just an interesting change. But yeah, besides besides Fartgate and a couple nitpicks here and there, all the rest of the stuff, we're just gonna be glowing, I think, about the episode.
Agreed. I think Callum puts it perfectly. If it wasn't for that stuff, I'd probably have this episode as a 10 out of 10. There's very little outside of what we talked about for the first 20 minutes of the stream that I could critique. which tells you a lot because we picked out some very smaller moments. They're not huge, like, oh, they destroy the show. They're more like, oh, we didn't love how they executed certain scenes. So let's move on to some of the more positive stuff, some of the things we might have liked more. And we get finally a lot more into Daron, Aegon's older brother. And so I wanted to know, because we barely saw him in episode 1, not enough to really tell if we liked the depiction or not. What did you guys think of Daron, the Drunken? JC, I'll go to you first. What did you think of Daron in the episode?
Yeah, I mean, he comes across as someone who is very like, oh, I don't want anything to do with this, but I needed someone to blame. Sorry. Just kind of this person who doesn't want anything to do with anything, but doesn't really care of the damages that their non-action causes anyone else. So I thought they got that down perfectly. So no complaints from me.
All right, moving on to Becky. Any other thoughts you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'm really happy with the casting for Daron. Like, we hadn't seen enough of him in the other episodes to really make that opinion, but like in this one, his performance was brilliant. I think he's, basically what I imagined in my head when reading the book. I think he did it really, really well. So I'm happy with his casting.
Agreed. I thought the acting from his character specifically was a standout in his section. I don't know. I also want to say this in terms of foreshadowing, because I think this was a big talking point from last episode was, how do we foreshadow things and execute them well? Is, Daron's dream. It's great that they reintroduce it, just like in the novella, because it heightens the stakes. In this dream, we see that Daron tells us there's a dragon that is dead, and Dunk is like underneath it, or maybe had something to do with it. And that's great foreshadowing because you can't tell what that means. You just know, okay, let's try to speculate it. So that's why when I went back to episode 3 and we had that discussion point on the fortune teller, we have a better example of how to do it in the same show. So that's for some people that didn't get that's what I kind of meant. But I really did like Daron in this episode. I love the depiction. I thought they got the look down from what I imagined the character to be. So really enjoyed that. Another aspect of the episode that I wanted to bring attention to that I really enjoyed, that I brought up earlier in the stream, was the Steely Pate section or little scene in the middle of the episode. What did you guys think of that scene in terms of it's kind of the anchor starting into the second half of the episode?
So emotional. Like, it was, just great. From like the lighting, from the way the lines were delivered, from like the facial expressions. Like, I just thought it was great.
Agreed, JC?
Yeah, I love it. Steely Pate's a good man. He's like, you know what? 1 copper is all I need. Go do your joust. Like, make us like Dunk standing up for the innocents and, punching Arya and Bright Flame's lights out in the previous episode, gave the people hope and goodwill. Like, yeah, like you did the right thing, Dunk. Like, I mean, you're probably going to get yourself killed, but you did the right thing. Thanks for doing this. Go for it. It's all yours. Thought that was really sweet.
Agreed. And I think it was really needed because it kind of shows that at least some of the small folk are behind Dunk. You didn't really get the best look of that in the episode. They did cut out a little bit in terms of when this happens in the novella. Dunk is not like a hero, but like you can tell more people are rallied behind him. Like people are like giving him prayers and stuff as he goes to the trial. So we'll have to see if they have that in episode 5 or anything like that. But it was nice because you see people realizing that Dunk is standing up for the people. He is one of the few knights actually holding up to his vows. And it was just a really nice scene where, Steely Pate, we've only seen 2 scenes of him, and he's one of my favorite characters in the show, as he kind of continues to keep going on that arc of helping out Dunk, seeing who maybe he is. So moving on then, we talked about the ending of episode 4 a little bit. Do you guys like where it ended? I know for a lot of people, given that it came out on Friday, we now have to wait I think it's 10 days or something until we get into the actual trial. Do you like where this episode ended, Becky?
Yeah, I like where it ended, but not because of like where it ended particularly, but because of how they ended it. Like,
yep.
Because I would have loved to have, it's like that cliffhanger ending when but I find cliffhangers so annoying because I'm genuinely just like, I want to see the next bit. But I think they did that really well with the music and the scene. Just, it was perfect, I think.
Agreed. JC, moving on to you on the
Before
ending.
Before I discuss my thoughts, you have a super chat here, good sir.
Give us your thoughts and we'll talk about this for a second because we could dive into this for a while. So give us your thoughts and we'll come back to that.
And
thank you, Zez.
I'd also like to circle back to Darren's dreams in a bit, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah. But as far as the episode ender, I thought it was pretty great. That was one of the things that I think was missing from the first two episodes. The episodes just kind of end, and I mean, we had good episodes for sure, those first two, but there was never really anything there to hook us to wait a week in between these episodes. Whereas here, you have that moment where Baylor, rides alongside Duncan. He's like, "Are we ready for this joust?" And it's like, "Oh, cool. Here we go. Now this is how you end an episode. Now I'm hooked. I got to see what happens next." So I thought how it ended, like Becky said, was pretty great.
Agreed. And I think you can kind of tell that more of the casual audience is getting a little bit more invested because the show on Rotten Tomatoes for audience scores, it got all the way down to 63 or 64%. And I just checked while you were talking there, JC, and it's slowly going up. So you can tell it's like, this is what we needed. Episode 3 and 4 needed to get the ball rolling. And I think they did a very good job of it. This is where I predicted the episode was going to end, just based upon you just can't have the trial in this episode, or what do we do for the last 2 episodes? And I'm still kind of wondering what we're going to do with the last 2 episodes because we have very little source material left. Like we have the trial and we have a little bit of stuff afterwards. That's it. So I am wondering what they're going to do with that. But addressing the super chat, because I did notice this when I was making this video last week about the fortune teller, wood witch, whatever. Do you guys think that there's more to this? The innkeeper, prophet being the same actor? Do you think there's is this Blood Raven some people have thrown out there? Is this like some other theory? Or do you guys think this is just simply they were saving money and just using the same actor? Any thoughts?
Surely they wouldn't make like a continuity error like that where they just recast the same person to play 2 side characters. Surely. Would they do that?
Who knows? No comment on that. I mean, I've seen shows that got a lot more funding and have pretty big continuity errors that I can't say, Becky.
That just feels like a really big one. Although saying that, I didn't notice that it was the same person.
I didn't either.
I think somebody put in my YouTube comments that it was, and I was like, oh, but like until that point, it went over my head. I didn't notice.
Well, to be fair, they are hooded. So half their face is kind of in the dark, so they're like kind of trying to hide it. I don't know. We'll see. It wouldn't shock me if it was something a little bit more, because as of right now, it feels like that scene's very random. It's just thrown in there, and then we haven't talked about it again. So I don't know, JC. What do you think? You got any overarching theories on that, or any thoughts?
No, I think it's just a side hustle for the innkeeper. It's like, oh, at night I'm an innkeeper, and during the day I'm a fortune teller. I just, I'm a woman of many talents. So I think it's just, I don't think she's like a secret Targaryen or a secret Blackfire or anything like that, or Blood Raven. I mean, I don't know. We could be proven wrong. Maybe in episode 6, she'll like remove her face, and it's like, ha, it's me, Brendan Rivers, suckers. Theory that, you guys.
Plot twist.
Plot twist. But I didn't see much. At least I currently don't see much into that. But what did you think, Reese?
So I don't know. I don't even know. On one hand, I think it could just be something where they were just like, this is a one-off scene for both her professions. If it's the same person, we like they're one scene and then they're done. I could very easily see it. I could also see maybe the fortune teller's like, oh, let me get some extra money, or the innkeep's like, let me get some extra money. She knows who Daron was, apparently, it would assume. So that would maybe assume that she knew who Egg was. So maybe I don't know. It's a weird thing that we'll just have to see how they do. Also, I want to point out, when I was throwing strays, I was not throwing it at House of the Dragon. I was throwing it at Game of Thrones, and I couldn't say anything because Becky's in here. So yeah, that was not a House of the Dragon catching strays, but I do throw strays at House of the Dragon quite a lot.
Real quick, I want to talk about something here. So
yes,
book fans don't really know what's going to happen at the end. We only have 3 novellas. So the Egg story and how Egg's story will end and how Dunk's story will end, that's all theory stuff. We don't really know what will happen here at the end. And the same goes for Daron's visions also, which, Grease, earlier you were talking about how you preferred how this episode did Daron's dreams, the stuff that may happen in the future, the prophecy. You prefer how the prophecy was done in this episode with Daron's dreams as opposed to the previous episode. And I agree with you too, because here in this episode, Daron's dreams, they could be interpreted in like millions of ways. And there's this vagueness in the air where you could say like, well, it could be this one thing or it could be this other thing, which I actually think is much stronger as opposed to in the previous episode where the fortune teller just flat out said, nope, here's what's going to happen. Here's how it's going to go down. There's your, there it is. There's your answer, which I think is not quite as insightful.
I just want to respond to something. So I saw you had this comment up, JC. This is like saying, why shouldn't we just spoil the Red Wedding in an earlier season? Because book fans already know it, so they're going to spoil it. Like this argument, I don't like. This is a bad argument to me, but you're free to have your opinions. I just okay. That'd be like, okay, every story from now on should be, if it has any if it has any book, then we should just spoil it in the first season and just call it a day. Like it doesn't make whatever. But yeah.
Did you know this?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I need to rewatch the episode to see that. Zaz, you might be onto something here. Maybe you're over. Maybe. Well, we'll see.
Agreed. All right. So, moving on. I do think something that we now can talk about, because we're now 4 episodes through. We're through a portion of the story. Would you guys have wanted more of certain characters we didn't see, and that we more than likely will not see the rest of the show now that we've gotten confirmation that Tanzel is going to Dorne? A lot of Dunk's champions just kind of get thrown in there. Like we don't really know who they are outside of a couple. And most of them get maybe one scene. Given that, I know JC, you talked about this specifically in episode 2, I think, where there was a lot more, you believe there's a lot more fluff. Do you wish we would have seen a little bit more of some of these characters that we really didn't get to see in this television show all that much?
Like, do I wish that we could focus more on like Steely Pate and stuff like that?
No. So, I mean, I've seen this being a very common take online. So I wanted to talk about it in terms of Tanzel. Like she's a character that you would have thought we might have gotten an expanded role from in the show, given how much more padding of the time. And we really saw her in like 3 scenes, I think.
Yeah.
Do you wish we would have seen more of characters like that? Like, for instance, the Humphreys and, characters like that.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I do think it wasn't that much, but like instead of having scenes where we're seeing, Dunk going for a dip in the water and, seeing his bare naked butt and him pooping in a field and, people burping and farting and all this crap, Arlen's wee hanging out instead of dedicating.
Whoa. That was Becky's favorite part of episode 2.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that scene. I'm glad they kept that in.
My apologies, Becky. All right. That scene was super important to the plot. Very massively, enormously important.
JC, your take has now been invalidated by that statement.
Well, accepting Arlen's, humongous dong. Everything else, I feel like they could have removed some of those other scenes and maybe given some of that screen time to Tanzel because, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but we're likely not going to see Tanzel for the rest of the season. At least I don't think. So the fact that Tanzel just went back to Dorne and that's it. It's like, oh, well, I would have liked if we would have maybe spent more time here. Maybe, added some more flavor scenes of like, oh, Duncan and Tanzel crushing on each other. I think that would have done more for the characters as opposed to just, oh, time to take a dump here out in the field.
That was perfect.
Thank you.
All right, Becky, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would have benefited maybe from like a little bit more, just like a smidge more of like a little bit more Tanzel. I feel like she was gone too soon. Even if it's just like Dunk staring at her, giving her the googly eyes, just so like we know how significant of a character she is to him. And a little bit more of him finding the other men who are in his trial of 7 on his side. I think that was very quick, very glossed over. And there's not like huge depth to it in the novella, but there is more than what was in this episode. So that could have been quite nice. But I also don't really know where they would have fit it because this episode needed to end where it did. So I don't really know where else they would have added that kind of fluff in without it being a longer episode. So I can see why they cut it out.
Totally agree. I think it's one of those things where when you're reading the novella, certain characters just don't get fleshed out that much, and especially when you're having a show where you are fleshing it out even more so, given like 6 episodes covering 100-ish, a little over 100-ish pages. I think a lot of people were not exactly thrilled by not getting more of that, because in the book, let's be honest, Tanzel is not much of a character. She's more of a plot device for Dunk, which is fine. That's totally fine. I think it would have been nice if we got more of that. She really served basically the exact same purpose in the show. She's kind of a plot device to get the ball rolling. And so I do, on one hand, I'm like, I kind of wish we got a little bit more with her versus some of these other scenes that maybe didn't go so far, or they didn't go anywhere. So yeah, I think the Humphrey stuff, a lot of the champions, just comes down to this show just took the stance of, we are not going to show the joust as much. They really didn't show a whole lot of it. They showed, the little night joust, and then they showed the big part, which is Arian's part, which unfortunately does kind of mean, some of these characters that even we don't like have a huge liking of, we don't know a ton about their personalities. We at least know of them. like I think if you're a casual viewer and you're looking at Dunk's Champions, you're going, who are these guys? I vaguely remember who one of these people were outside of Lionel. So I don't know. I think that's something that maybe should have handled a little better, but I don't think it had a terrible effect. I think you get the same idea overall. This is a good question. Do you think we'll see Tanzel again in a future season?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, she doesn't appear in the later novellas, but that doesn't mean that she can't appear in the later seasons. I would like if we have another scene, maybe either at the end of the season or at the beginning of season 2. I would like for there to be another one, but we'll see.
Or even if it's a flashback. Even
That's
just
what I
like
was thinking, Becky.
flashback would be quite nice, just to see her face again. I miss her.
I could very easily see us still getting another flashback of Tanzel in season 1 in the last 2 episodes. But I don't know. What do you guys think about this? So I saw this as you guys were talking. I think focusing more on Tanzel would have undermined being a knight and standing for the innocent, and turned him hitting Arian into a love thing. Well, my take of this is it's already that, kind of. It's not love, but part of why he's so angered by it, part of why he has such an emotional response, is what George loves to write about, the heart at conflict. And so he's overwhelmed and he does that. So yes, it's part of it is Dunk is defending the innocent, but also it is part of it is he has an attraction for this woman. He's been trying to chat her up for a couple episodes now. So do you guys disagree with that? Do you agree with this take? What do you guys think on that?
No, I agree. I mean, he definitely fancies her big time. Like, he's made that perfectly clear. He's not good at flirting. He's getting nervous around her. He's like watching her with big wide open eyes when she's doing her puppet stuff. Like, he fancies that girl. But I also do think I do think for Dunk, it's a 50-50 where he's doing it because of like a standing up for the innocent, which she is, but also because he fancies the pants off of her. So I think both can be true for Dunk's case.
Agreed. JC, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, likewise. I think both can be true. And even if we had more scenes of Dunk kind of crushing on Tanzel, I think both actions could still make sense, where it's like he's doing it both because he fancies her, and he's also doing it because, it's the right thing to do. And I think if it wasn't Tanzel, if it was like, Steely Pate, if Ariane was just kind of messing with Steely Pate, I bet Dunk would stand up for Steely Pate as well. So, yes.
Agreed. I'll say that I saw this as well. They do go to Dorne in between the first and the second novella, so there is opportunities there. Who knows? But we will just have to see what they do. And I think of the novellas, the second season or the second novella is the one that I would feel the most like they probably need to maybe add some stuff in there.
Yeah.
Our pacing is going to be a tremendous problem. So not mad about that. We talked about Makar earlier in the stream. I think a lot of us would probably agree with this. I think this kind of goes back to the whole conversation I saw in chat having earlier, is because this is so centered, very similar to the novella, on Dunk, you can't have that many Maekar scenes. You can't have a whole lot of scenes with these other Targaryens because of that. And so that's the trade-off. I was somebody that thought maybe doing this novella, they should go away from that a little bit, maybe give us some scenes where it's not just Dunk or not just Egg, but they didn't do that. And I think it worked out either way. So, yeah.
Can I answer this question real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
So, Efrent, yes, George's original intention was to have the second novella take place in Dorne. However, in typical George R. R. Martin fashion, he changed his mind and was like, actually, it makes more sense if it's in Standfast, which I don't want to go too deeply into for the sake of spoilers. But originally it was going to be in Dorne, but didn't wind up being in Dorne.
Agreed. I think this is a very fascinating comment. What do you guys think about this in terms of, without spoilers, going from the end of season 1 to season 2, there is a lot of stuff that happens like off the page. It kind of feels like, oh, we just skipped in time. Like the whole world has changed in the matter of, this time period. So what do you guys think and how you expect them to maybe handle season 2?
It depends what they add, because I think season 2 will be the one that they'll probably need to change the most. Or not change, but add to the most. Again, without spoilers, which is actually really hard to describe without spoilers. But
Yes.
yeah, I might just leave it at that. I think it'll be the one that they'll need to add the most stuff to make it worth the 6 episodes. So it just depends on how they do that.
I'll just add this and you'll be okay. JC, anything you want to add to that?
What if Ira Parker is tricking us? What if when he was talking about 12 seasons, I mean, he did really mean 12 seasons, but it's like, oh yeah, the stuff from the second novella, the Sworn Sword, that's actually going to be like season 3 or 4, because season 2, it's going to be a completely new story taking place in Dorne. And then season 3 is a season about the spring and the events that happened during the springtime. And then season 4 will be the Sworn Sword. What if Ira Parker has been tricking us all along and that's his intention?
Ooh.
I hope not, because then it's going to take us so much longer to get to the third novella, and I want to see the third novella.
That's true. It's got some great politics in there.
It does. Wink, wink to something I had on screen earlier.
Yeah, of the grass variety. Grass
Yes,
of a specific color. I don't know.
Guys, whenever you're in doubt, just remember the king who has the sword is the true king. Just remember that. Moving on, though, I do want to bring us back to episode 4. What was your guys' favorite scene from episode 4? Becky, go ahead. Take it from us.
You know it. It's easy. So the whole, was it maybe like hey, there you go.
Star of the show.
The whole, was it like the last 5 minutes or so, however long it was at the end, from Dunk saying his signature line, which I've been waiting for, and it delivered. From that to the whole Baelor, the badass Breakspear, strutting on his horse, just like, what's up? Like, and the music, like going out into the signature tune. Okay, right, I need to stop. But that entire bit was pure perfection.
Becky, you can yap as long as you need to. You don't got to cut yourself off.
I interrupt myself.
You're good.
Fair.
You're good.
JC, what was your favorite moment of the episode?
Like Becky said, and like Callum says here, oh, true knights among you. That is, that is my favorite. My favorite.
Can we get that as JC? You should make that as an alert on your channel of you doing that. Of just like anybody donates and you do that.
Are there no true knights among you? There we go. Perfect.
Wow, that was better than Dunk.
I'm trying not to.
No, I tell a lie. Sorry.
Dunk couldn't compete with that.
I'm trying not to scream. I've got someone who I said that, and someone started crying here. So
JC and King George would do that speech way better. 100%.
Do you see him right there?
I see him a little. Yeah. I'm gonna be a little different, I guess. My favorite. I honestly really loved just the open. I'm gonna cheat a little bit and say 2 scenes combined as one. I really just liked the whole open. I liked Dunk being in prison, him and Egg talking about what has happened, and then when that pays off, when he's talking to Baelor and he's like, Egg's a good boy, he's a good squire. All that, it just melted my heart. My cold House the Dragon hater heart, and melted it. And I just loved the whole open. That was my favorite part. I do love the ending, like you guys said as well. So, yeah.
That's true. The intro was very atmospheric. It was a nice
Yes.
change of pace. It was
Yeah.
very somber and serious and more surreal than we had seen from the previous 3 episodes where, it was still good, but there was more humor. Whereas this one was like, oh no, Dunk's in some serious doo-doo here. And it's very atmospheric and very cool. I hope so too, Zaz. That would be really, really cool, Zaz. I hope so too.
Moving on. So what was, JC, I'll go back to you. What was your least favorite moment of the episode?
So the fart, as much as we can make fun of it, it actually didn't detract too much. I think I don't know. I go back and forth. I think it's Makar not knowing what a trial by 7 was. I think that was probably because the fart, you could excuse it away as like, oh, it's just High Lords making fun of Dunk. But the fart just kind of tells me that like, oh, maybe Makar's not as knowledgeable and not as, knowing of what a trial. I don't know. At that moment kind of was like, that's the only moment I would say that probably I didn't like.
Fair enough. Becky, what was your least favorite of the episode?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. For me, it's just Makar not knowing what a trial 7 is, because with Fartgate, like, although I didn't like it, it makes sense. Like, you don't know what people are like. Some people just think that's funny, and people could do that. Like, it makes sense. But Makar not knowing what a trial of 7 is when he's a Targaryen does not make sense to me. So that's why it ranks lower.
You said that with such conviction, Becky. I agree with you wholeheartedly. It does not make sense.
We got a little Becky the Cruel there for a second.
Yeah.
It poked through a little bit.
I need to chill.
Oh, you guys are gonna make me choose something. I don't want to pick the same. I don't want to pick the same thing. I don't want to be boring. I don't want to be like, oh, yeah, I'm just gonna go with one. I will say though, I think it's probably tied for me. It's probably between that scene and I also, again, I don't know if this is because I want to see Egg be allowed to have a serious scene and not have it like, oh, a joke at the end. So I'll probably go with Egg trauma dumping and then Raymond laughing at him. That'd probably be mine. But I can't agree with you. I mean, I agree with you guys as well on the Makar stuff. I wasn't a fan of that either. But yeah.
Yeah, like Sagan says here, there's a way to get the exposition across to the audience explaining what a trial by 7 is without making Makar look like an idiot. If it had come from Lord Ashford, I think that would have made sense. If it had come from just anybody else besides Makar or Baylor, I think it would have made more sense as opposed to just, Makar, who is, one of the tippy top Targaryens being like, what's a trial by 7? Yeah.
Guys, Dunk literally asks what it is. It's literally okay. So Makar goes, what the fuck is a trial of 7 or whatever? Then Baylor says a little bit about it. He teases it. And then Dunk asks again, yeah, I'm not, or Arlen was not religious or something like that. And so what is this? And then he basically explains it more. There was no need for Makar's dialogue is pointless in this scene outside of trying to get you to laugh. It's pointless. So yeah, it's not great. We talked about this the first 20 minutes. Now, I think this is the big question. This is why I titled the episode this way. Do you guys think this was the best episode since Game of Thrones? I specifically said since Game of Thrones because Becky hasn't watched the full thing, so it's harder to, But in terms of House of the Dragon and Night of the Seven Kingdoms, do you think this is the best episode?
It's really hard for me to judge it because I've not watched the bad parts of Game of Thrones yet. So, like, for me, Game of Thrones seasons 1 to 4, even a bit of 5, was like legendary. So it's hard for me to rank, but compared to like House of the Dragon season 2, I'm enjoying A Night of the Seven Kingdoms way more than House of the Dragon season 2.
Guys, it wasn't me. It wasn't me that insulted House of the Dragon this time.
Oh, is that not a good take? Am I going to?
Oh no, that's a good take. I'm notorious for throwing subtle jabs at House of the Dragon.
Well, now's your time. Go for it.
Well, no, we're going to JC first. I'm gonna let all the hate that anyone just push you guys, and I'll go last. JC, do you think it's the best episode from House of the Dragon and Night of the Seven Kingdoms?
That's really hard to quantify. I don't really know. I mean, I probably enjoyed it more than any. With exception of maybe House of the Dragon season 2 episode 2, which is the episode where Otto Hightower loses his hand to the king position, and Aegon II has a lot of great acting moments there. I thought that episode is great, but it's really hard to quantify. I feel like I'd have to go back and forth. It's probably my favorite episode of anything since that season 2, episode 2 of House of the Dragon. But I enjoyed it more than season 2 in general. So I guess there's my take. I don't know. Being
Becky,
top
I'll let
10.
you respond to this.
Oh, thank you, Callum. Top 10 of all Game of Thrones episodes. That's a strong statement. There are some good episodes. I don't know if it would be in top 10. Maybe it would. Maybe
I
it
don't
would be in
know.
top 10. I don't know.
Season 1 of Game of Thrones had a lot of bangers. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to respond too harshly to this, so I'm just gonna say it wouldn't sniff top 10 for me, but that's because I have a love for the Song of Ice and Fire more than I do Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I notoriously rate Night of the Seven Kingdoms very low compared to the other ones. But
That hurts me physically. I've just had heartburn
okay,
from that.
this is going to get into the whole spiel, okay, of how to quantify something being great. Because Night of the Seven Kingdoms, you got to put it in this perspective. The whole show is basically like 4 episodes of Game of Thrones, like of a season. Well, that's how short it is compared to the other shows. And like House of the Dragon, for instance, a regular episode is almost, it's not exactly, but it's almost 2 episodes of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Like, think about that. That's crazy. So if, for instance, I look at episode 2 of season 2 and I go, that was a pretty perfect episode. I can't remember anything I truly disliked in that episode. That was an hour of entertainment that I was like, that was awesome. So to me, I think I'd probably have this episode like third, maybe second or third, in terms of House of the Dragon, Night of the Seven Kingdoms episodes. Game of Thrones to me is a whole different. That's a whole different conversation. I think, like I had one of my mods say they really liked season 1 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms over season 1 of Game of Thrones. I just think that's wild, but like, fair play. I don't know. No, I'm not becoming Grease the Cruel. I'm just becoming Grease the Critical. There's a difference. Okay. Grease the Cruel is when I intentionally am trying to make people mad. I just think, I don't know. Like, this is basically the take I have. This is more or less the take I have, but I think it's still great. I really do like the episode. That's not to take away from it, but it's hard to go a 30-minute episode, which I still had problems with in certain regards, over episodes that are almost an hour long, 50 minutes long. That for the most part, if I went back and rewatched them, I'd go, oh, I have almost no issues with them. I think they're almost perfect. So that's where I'm at. That was a very big yap session. You guys can yap now. Any arguments to that?
Do you know what? I'm going to be respectful. I think your point is fair because for me, I judge it based on how it makes me feel. So like internally, and the end of today's episode this morning, like it put a spring in my step for like the rest of the day. Listening to the credit music afterwards, I just felt like my body was tingling. I was shaking and quaking. Like I just really loved how the episode made me feel. So that's why I'm thinking, hey, I'm being Becky the Kind here, right?
Becky, lean into it, Becky. Go,
lean into the
tell me I'm wrong and stupid.
I can't tell you you're wrong. It's your opinion, and opinion's not wrong unless. Actually, let's not get into that. There's definitely wrong opinions. But,
whoa. Becky, there's wrong opinions?
I'm not
telling you,
into
dude.
that.
JC, you have rubbed off in a bad way for Becky. This is stuff I used to say.
You finally joined the dark side. Welcome. We have cookies here.
I've been accepted now. But yeah, I think it's all based for me on how it makes me feel, and I just love the novellas so much that, like, for me, when I found out who was getting casted for Dunk and Egg, it's Becky the Kind. I'm here for it.
You got to have a counterbalance.
Yeah, it's like alter egos. You never know what version of me you're going to get.
That's fair.
But yeah, I think that's my point made. I was just repeating the same stuff I said 5 minutes ago. I don't remember what my point was. What was it? Was it insightful?
Your point was the episodes make you feel good, and makes you happy. You were yeah.
Oh, you were listening. Great.
Of course, I was listening.
Yeah.
What do you think I was just going blah blah blah? She has opposite takes. I don't care.
Yeah, you just shut me out when I've got a wrong opinion. Or an opinion.
Now, sometimes you guys in the comments, that's a whole different story. Some of you guys just you've lost your way. That's all I have to say. Like I used to say, you guys, you have the right to your opinion, but sometimes you're just wrong.
That
Did
is
you
true.
tell him,
exact
Reese?
wording. That was quoting. But JC, anything you want to add to the conversation of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon? Neither having is. To be fair, I don't think it's a fair comparison in terms of they're totally different. But people will ask the question. So
yeah, I mean, it's a different tone. Sometimes it's apples and oranges. You can't really compare the two. I just, in terms of like my feeling, this is definitely the episode I've enjoyed the most since, House of the Dragon season 2, episode 2. Someone here pointed out the Battle of Rook's Rest. Like, yeah, Battle of Rook's Rest was cool too. I think, yeah, that was a good episode too. I don't know. It's hard to quantify, but I enjoyed this episode, and I hope we see more like it as we approach the finale here.
Agreed. And that kind of gets us to our final thoughts, our ratings. I'll be very interested to hear what your guys' ratings are. JC, go ahead and finish it off with your ratings. Final thoughts on Night of the Seven Kingdoms, episode 4.
9 out of 10.
Strong rate. That's a strong rating. Strong rating, JC. What did you rate episode 3? An 8, 8.5?
So I've been going a 0.5 step. So far, the trend has been a 0.5 step higher each episode. Episode 1 is 7.5, episode 2, 8, 8.5, and now a 9.
Nice.
Yeah,
Becky,
I enjoyed it.
Oh, go ahead. Becky, what were your thoughts, or not thoughts? What was your final rating for episode 4?
My final rating was a 9.5. I really liked it. It's a high. I think this is probably the highest I'm going to get. I don't picture an episode being a 10 just because they add teensy bits of fartgate and poopgate, and I'm not going to say Sir Alan Schlong because I really liked that bit, but other things that didn't land with me, it knocks it down a little bit. But 9.5 is strong. I'm very picky. It's a strong episode.
I just want to point this out because I remembered this. For everybody that was not happy with my Night of the Seven Kingdoms stuff, I'm just going to point this out. For episode 3, I had the highest rating of the 4 of us. So, yeah, I'm also on a 9.5. If you wanted to just say, is it a 9 or a 10, I would say a 9. But I'm on 9.5. I think it was pretty close to perfect. There were just a couple things there that just weren't. Yeah, there were a couple things that held it back from being a 10. I think I've only rated 1 or 2 episodes a 10 throughout House of the Dragon or this. So that's pretty high. That's pretty high praise. There was a lot of great things to like from this episode. It was really well done. So yeah, I think overall from what I've seen so far, a lot of people are very positive this episode. There's not a whole lot to come out of this episode and go, oh, this was terrible. Ruined the show. We just got to stop watching. So thought it was great. Any final thoughts you guys want to have before we end the live stream?
I'm curious. Becky, what would make it a 10 out of 10? Like if the entire episode was just Arlen's schlong and that was like 40 minutes
in every
of it?
scene. Yeah.
Gotcha,
it's like the entire 30 minutes was a flashback of Sir Arlen Schlong. That would make it a 10 out of 10. With then are there no true knights among you at the end and a picture of Baelor Breakspear. That would be my 10 out of 10.
Wow.
I saw 2 very interesting comments that we need to address before we end the stream. Oh, okay, 3. So he hasn't watched it yet because it came out at 2 a.m. and then he had to go to work. So
understandable.
See.
And
then this, Becky, what's your thoughts on House Blackfire?
Oh God. Okay. Panic. What's the right response? What's not going to get me kicked out of the chat?
Wrong answers only.
I support whatever Egg says. Yield, you Blackfire bastard. I'm joking. Just because he's cute, he's cute. Just because he's cute. I'm joking. Just because he's cute.
Okay. Well, let's ask a different question. What are your thoughts on Young Griff?
Young Griff?
Because, he might be this.
I don't know my thoughts yet. It's such like an early storyline that we'll never get to find out the end to. So what's the point in me just giving an opinion when it's not going to have a conclusion? Sorry. That came
just
out
like that.
Negative.
Becky the Kind is gone.
Yeah, Becky the Cruel is in the house.
Man, that's the correct answer was House Blackfire is the correct rulers. Yeah, that's it.
I do prefer Daemon Blackfire if that is what you're looking for.
Yes, we've won.
Which Daemon Blackfire?
The one who looks more Targaryen-esque.
Okay.
Nice.
If that makes sense.
Right answer. I mean, we said no wrong answers, but there are wrong answers.
But there definitely is a wrong answer.
100%. And you will all be exposed in season 2. That's all I can say. That's right. The King Who Bore the Sword.
Yeah.
Last thing I saw, this was also interesting. Remember, keep in context that when a lot of the ratings were coming out for the show, a lot of those people had watched the entirety, and I think this show will improve when you're able to watch all the episodes back to back, because I feel like this should have been more like a movie. And so when you're not having to wait a whole week after episode 1, for instance, it's going to help when you can go from episode 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. So I think as the show gets viewed by more people after the whole show's been released, I think that it'll be reviewed a lot better than it is currently right now by casual audiences.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, most people will eventually they'll binge this show, which is honestly, Grease, I know you don't like binging shows, but that's how I like watching shows. Like, I hate waiting week to week. I'm like, what is this? Are we in the 80s? Like, what is this, caveman times? I'm going to binge the show. So I like binging the show. And I think when you binge a show, you have it better. Like, for example, like the poop scene, it's like, whatever. I'll just, next episode, like, it's not the end of the world, where it's like, well, you have to wait like a whole week. It's like, that's it. Now I have to wait 7 days, or I guess in this case, 9 days, 9 to 10 days for next episode. Then, your opinions will be more severe than if you're just watching it all in one go. So yeah, they'll probably be more positive after the fact.
I think it depends on what kind of show it is, because I'm a little bit biased, because back in the prime, well, not the prime days of Game of Thrones, but back in the days of Game of Thrones, like whenever an episode would drop, it was literally like an event. It was awesome time. Even when
you sound like old man Ricky. It's like, back in night.
He's not here, so sometimes I've got to speak for him. He speaks through me sometimes, and I can't say a whole lot, but like in terms of as the show went on, how things went, it only got better and better. Those were just eventful times. It was awesome. But so I personally always like that structure. But I do think with the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I think what you said probably would have worked better. I think more people would have liked the show that way. But I don't know. Becky, do you have a preference on the way shows come out?
I'm enjoying it week on week, to be fair, because I feel like it makes it last longer for me, and I like the excitement of building up throughout the week, thinking,
That's
yay,
true.
it's Monday morning, I get to watch it 3 a.m. But I think it depends on how the episode ends. So like if you're not going to end it making people want to watch it the next week, then like that can make or break a show.
I've never related to a comment more than this. It wasn't season 8, but season 6 in high school, that was an eventful time.
I will say, so I had not read the books or watched the show then, but throughout my entire, like, in my teenage years and young adult years, like, people would just like not shut up about Game of Thrones, and like that's all I heard. So people would spoil stuff for me, and like, can I spoil stuff from Game of Thrones the first couple of seasons here? Is that okay if I do that real quick?
The early season, sure.
Yeah, like for example, like Ned Stark's death, like everyone wouldn't shut up about
it.
it.
You spoiled it for all the chat.
No.
There's no point watching it now.
Oh, I know. What did I do? Or like when Jon Snow died, that's all like my stupid classmates wouldn't shut up about it, and I don't watch the show.
More spoiling stuff, JC. You said early seasons. That's season 5.
Yeah. Wow.
Be careful. You're getting closer to where you can't say nothing.
But
this is where you give the biggest spoiler for season 6 ever.
The meteor kills everyone.
The dinosaurs come back.
Yeah. But yeah, no, everybody would spoil it. So eventually when I read the books for the first time, I hadn't watched the show because I read the books first. And I was like, all right, let's read. I mean, it still had an effect on me, but it's like I was already expecting, it's like, all right, Ned Stark's going to die. Okay. There's going to be a red wedding of sorts. Okay. Yep. Jon Snow's going to die. Yep. Thanks everybody 10 years ago. Thanks for that. So
should have gotten on board the train earlier, JC.
I know. What was I doing? Yeah.
I don't know. What were you doing?
And it wasn't just my classmates, my best friend, my roommates and friends too. They're like, hey, Juan Carlos, like, hey, JC, have you like, oh man, how was yesterday's episode? Remember when like, I don't know, like when Joffrey died at the purple wedding? And I'm like,
boy, this is just a spoiler. I really hope somebody doesn't watch this. Imagine you're sitting here and like, whoa, what?
So to be fair, a lot of those things kind of, I didn't think I was going to read the books. A lot of them kind of disappeared, but still, cool spoiler. That's my name.
Fun fact: the origin of Grease the Cruel came from season 8. That's where I'd like to think the origin story started. Without any context for Becky, but that's where it started. All right, well, guys, I think we hit the end of the stream. I think we hit what we needed to talk about. I thank you guys all for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the super chats, memberships, all that kind of stuff for all the channels and all that kind of stuff. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the sellout stuff on all the channels, on everybody's channel. And if you don't, then I don't know what you're doing. I mean, you're just trolling.
If you don't, you're a Blackfire bastard.
That's true. That's true. Even though Blackfires are pretty cool though. So
yeah. If you don't, you're Brendan Fortune Teller Rivers. That's who you are, and we don't like that person. So
if you don't subscribe right now, then you're really just Makar in this episode, who's just a dum-dum who doesn't know the Trial of Seven.
Exactly.
Oh, that's harsh.
How are you going to get the latest scoop on a Night of the Seven Kingdoms and see Becky's glorious reactions?
Yeah.
You
better subscribe. You better do it.
like and comment and subscribe and join our channel memberships.
Yeah, follow us all on Instagram and all the other social media and all that kind of stuff. And
this looks really desperate now.
And go into,
please, I beg you.
Help us defeat the evil Arion Brightflame YouTube algorithm. Please.
Go into Ricky's chat and call him a green supporter. He always enjoys that. That's all you got to do. All right, well, guys, that was a great way to end it. And we'll see you guys all on our episode 5 live stream and all that. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.